thing is it's for. Oh well, we're just gonna do it now. See if anybody. Um,
Hi, welcome to Real Conversations with Michelle and Lori.
just to let you guys know, this is the first time we've tried this. We're doing a live on TikTok as well as recording our podcast. So I know that I scheduled this for 6 o'clock Central Time, but we decided to go a little bit early just in case we have people wanting to ask questions or anything for us, just whatever it is. Just put it in there and we will try to track that as best we can.
Thank you. So, we created this podcast to really talk about healing from emotional, spiritual, physical, financial, psychological abuse. And we're talking about the deeply hurtful things that and battles we've had to endure. And this podcast provides a space for survivors and folks who are going through these issues right now. And maybe they're in a situation that is dangerous, or maybe they're in a situation that is not safe and they need to get out of it. But this podcast is where we're creating a place to feel seen, heard, and understood without judgment.
And also we want to definitely put out there that we will share our stories and what got us to the place that we were, or let me rephrase that. We'll share our stories and how the abuse affected us. But what we really want to concentrate on is how we got out of that, how we healed, what we did, the resources we used, and where we're at today. And as you can tell, we're doing really well today. So that is a big part of why we're wanting to share, because everyone has a light at the end of the tunnel. And that tunnel, although it may seem dark at times, I think both of us can say the light does get brighter and brighter. And uh, for me, especially, and I'm not going to talk for Michelle, but for me, I had nobody to teach us or teach me or show me or take my hand and say, "Come on, here we go." Everything I've done is my own learning and my own experience.
The education. You had to
Hmm. Very
educate
much so.
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny. Not funny, maybe funny. I don't know, but going through trauma at the degree that I did, it made me want to educate myself and it made me want to learn. And I have such an amazing, through my nonprofit, I have had such an amazing outreach this last few weeks. And just say this, if going if the crazy train ride to hell was crazy enough, it was worth it to be able to help other people and to show you that yes, you can be knocked down, but you can come back twice as strong, twice as wise, and ready to help others get to that point as well.
Yes, absolutely. Even myself, I did not have anybody, any family. I did not have anyone who was able to teach me what to do, how to get help, how to find support. I didn't have anybody to turn to. And a lot of that was because I left the church that I was in. So just by leaving the church, leaving that organization, it put me in a very vulnerable place, and I did not know who to reach out to or who to connect with. All I did know was that I needed to heal, and I didn't know where to start. But I as well had to do a lot of research and a lot of educating myself and trying to find a support system that worked for me.
So, what we're going to do today is we have shared somewhat of our stories the last few podcasts, and we thought that we would do more of an interview, like ask each other questions that might be questions that you want to ask or want to know more about. And again, I want to just say Michelle and I come from different types of domestic violence. Hers was a lot of religious abuse. She has shared some other things, and I'll let her share. I personally have never experienced that. So I appreciate you being honest and open and willing to share, because I know that even 5, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, nobody knew that religious abuse really existed unless they were in that.
Right.
And a
Right.
lot of times, I think in that situation, because it's a community within itself, people are scared.
And you
They're,
don't interpret it that way. You
mm-mm,
don't go into a church automatically thinking I'm going to get abused here. So it
mm-hmm.
comes from a backside angle. You're not expecting it. And if you're someone who was born into that, like I was, it's very confusing.
Oh, and I'm sure it's like an everyday thing for you.
It
It's
was.
not out of the norm. I think definitely it's becoming more and more prevalent in situations and in relationships. And I just appreciate you being honest, because you have educated me. And I always say things, one of the biggest things I say to people who have not been through domestic violence or DV of any kind is, when you hear a story of someone, a survivor, telling you something, and if it seems so out there, 99.9 times it's the truth. And I'm sure that I'm I'm not going to speak for Michelle. For myself, when I would tell people my story or share things that have happened to me, or just different types of things along the relationship, I usually got, "Oh, that's not true. Oh, he's not that way. Oh,
Or the eye rolls. I
yes.
got a lot of the eye rolls, and I didn't really even tell that many people and talk
Yes.
about it openly.
Same.
So it was a very selective few that I even communicated that with. And I got until I took printed out copies of the newspaper articles about the church,
Mhm.
and I took it to my friend and I said, "Read these." And she read that and she said, "I truly didn't believe you
Mhm.
until I read these." And she says, "I'm sorry I ever doubted you." And I said, my whole thing is, why on earth would I want something that traumatic to
Yep.
happen to me? It sounds like a movie, but it was my real life. It was my everyday existence.
Oh yeah. Well, and that's just it. Unless, I have spoke about a counselor I had. Her name is Hava. Uh, she said to me one time, "Oh, and I just lost my train of thought. I'm sorry."
But she was there for you.
Yes. Well, it took me a long time to find her, but and I will stand on this till the day I don't breathe. She is the catalyst of why I healed the way I did, and that I became so strong, is mostly because she believed me. She believed my crazy stories.
Yeah.
Even though I didn't think they were crazy. Again, somebody not in the situation can think, "Well, why are they, that's not possible."
Yeah.
They can't wrap their mind around something they've never experienced, and especially something as outrageous as some of the things that have happened to us.
Right. Right.
So,
And even though with your experience, even though you say that you haven't experienced the type of abuse that I experienced, does not make your abuse
mm-mm,
less.
nope.
It doesn't make it less important, more traumatic, less traumatic, more painful, less painful.
Hmm.
It doesn't mean any of that.
No, and that's one thing I remember hearing from some different advocacy groups is, "Oh, well, you're fine. It's not that bad," or, "Oh, well, she had it way worse." Well, who's to say that? I mean, our abuse is our abuse, and what we go through is what we go through. But yeah, so we're here live. I'm not sure if, please forgive me. I'm looking to see if there's anybody asking questions.
I
And
have a question for you, though.
yes, I
Yes.
would love a question.
I wanted to find out, when you look back and you look back at what was going on, what stands out the most in your experience? Like, what is the memory that you stick on the most when you're replaying that in your mind?
Um, the thing that I replay the most, I don't know if I'd say it's a memory, but um, I don't regret anything that happened to me. I'm grateful for the whole experience. But what the one thing would be is, I wish my children didn't go through the hell they did. And that's the one thing that not only, so it took me a long time to take that anger and that disappointment and all of those feelings to wrap them up into a ball of motivation.
Mm-hmm.
Because once I became grateful for my experience, even though, again, I wish my children didn't have it, it has motivated me to do amazing things that I probably would have never done otherwise. I mean, I went back to school, I got a degree, I graduated with honors. I didn't even like high school. So for me to be able to do that was so empowering. And what has come out of that for me now is that I get to help other survivors find their voice and find their light. And that, I don't want to say, maybe I do want to say, justifies or makes all the pain I went through worth it. Because knowing that I can be somebody that makes a difference in a life that's not the best right then, or I'm losing my train of thought, sorry. Uh, Being able to help others succeed and empower themselves. And one of my biggest goal, I don't know if you know statistics about domestic violence, but they say that survivors, or they call them victims at that time, I don't use the word victim, but um, have a return rate of 7 times. And most of the time, that eighth time, they have two ways of going, either excelling or not living anymore. And so I want to be the voice for the people that no longer have voices.
Well, in my experience, when I left, I actually ran away in the middle of the night. I 3 days before I left the church, I was beaten incredibly bad. I was beaten in front of uh, 50 people in our church, and my father used a 2x4, and he beat me in the back of the head, over the back, and the back of the legs, and the buttocks, and just kept hitting me. And I remember looking out at the folks sitting in the church, and we were talking adults, children. This is what we were accustomed to. This was not unusual. It was not outrageous. It wasn't unexpected. It was, if my dad got really upset, basically how it even started was I was sitting in church and I was in a lesson, and we would go through lessons, and the lesson would last as long as they wanted it to last. And it usually wouldn't stop unless you verbalize the things they were expecting you to say. So if my dad would look at me and say, "Tell everybody what you've been learning," right? So I've been in a lesson. So I'm trying to figure out in my mind what he wants me to say. I have no idea what he wants me to say. Mm-hmm. My mind is blank. I have no idea. And everybody's looking at me. And my dad got very angry with me in front of everybody. And he said, "You're playing games." He goes, "You're trying to look good. I want you to say to everybody what you've been learning." And I literally just couldn't. So he said, "I'm fucking done with this." And he goes in the back of the church, grabs a 2x4, brings it out into the auditorium, and just starts hitting me. And then we ended up, my dad released the church. He just said, "This is going to take all night. I'm going to go ahead. Everybody go home." And then he took me downstairs and just continued to hit me and hit me. And they broke my glasses. I had a busted lip. My arms were completely black from defense wounds, because my dad would say, if you keep putting your arms back there, I'm going to keep hitting them until you stop. My dad would talk about how his whole method in spanking us was lifting us off the ground so hard we would not forget it. We were black and blue. Our butts were cut, completely open, bleeding. Could not sit down. You couldn't lay down. You couldn't rest.
So, how long did this go on?
My whole life.
So, did you go to a public school?
No.
Okay. Because I was wondering, if you went to a public school and they knew this abuse was going on, why wouldn't anybody report it?
No, that's why. It wasn't even until the police and the judge told me this was a cult. I did not know it was.
Wow. So what did that feel like?
It was crazy. I didn't leave because I was mad, because I was angry. I left because I didn't want to get hit anymore.
You wanted to survive.
Yeah, I wasn't. I was at a point where I was beating myself down. Everything my dad was saying, you're ruining my ministry. You're not a good daughter. You're terrible. You're horrible. You don't belong here. God should take you. You don't. You hear all these things, and you believe them.
Mm-hmm.
They
Wow.
really do stick. And so I'm sitting there feeling bad, feeling like um, I need to get away because I'm making my dad look bad,
Mm-hmm.
that I'm ruining my father, and that I'm a horrible person. And so I wanted to leave for that reason. And it was so confusing. It was so hard leaving because I did not have a soul. I had to leave my family, every single person I'd ever known, and if it wasn't for my son's dad and begging his father to let me live in their house, I would have had nowhere to go.
You may not be alive.
Right. And it was during that whole time I really didn't know how I felt about any of that. In fact, I was almost not even wanting to think about it. And I was reached out to by an old church member, and he asked if he could meet with me. He came to me through a back door because I was selling. Remember, I told you I sold Mary Kay.
Oh.
So I got a call from the Mary Kay company saying that someone was trying to reach me. My old customer was
Hmm.
trying to get in touch with me. It happened to be this old member's sister
Wow.
that contacted Mary Kay to get my information so I could reach him. And I ended up meeting with him at this restaurant, and we were talking, and he had gotten out of the church, and he wanted to get his children out, and he needed me to come forward. And he said he'd already gotten in touch with attorneys, and there was like these 4 attorneys that he'd been working with, and that they needed my witness statement in order to fight the situation. And I was sitting there like, I don't even know how I feel about. I don't even know. I couldn't at that time, and that was in February. I want to say of '97, and then by I it wasn't until I think in April I actually tried to take a lot of medication, Tylenol, and tried to OD on that, and ended up in the hospital. And I had this social worker sitting at the end of my bed, and I almost felt like she was picking on me a little bit. And I felt vulnerable. I had all these bruises all over me, from this whole experience. And she said, "Boy, what you just went through was pretty serious, and I haven't seen you have any friends or family show up to be here for you."
Hmm.
She's like, you went through something really traumatic, and you haven't had one visitor.
Hmm.
And I was like, I called my son's dad and I said, "You better get up here right now because they're gonna keep me in the loony bin if you don't get up here and visit me."
Oh my goodness. It that's one thing I can kind of understand too is when you're going through all this, people I I don't want to say she was being judgmental, but maybe she was saying something to get you to start speaking or to get you to talk to her about something. But a lot of
She
times,
definitely didn't make it seem like she was really interested in finding out. I really did come up with the story.
yeah.
I came up with the story, a lie, to get her off my back.
Oh,
I told her that I had just gotten out of a marriage. We got in a fight, and I just couldn't take it.
oh wow. And was that because you wanted to protect your dad or
Yes,
because
I had been raised to not say a
Mhm.
word about anything, and there was no way. I honestly didn't think a soul would believe me.
It's
Be
that's how
easier for them to
abuse,
believe that I got in a fight with a spouse.
yeah. And two, I think it's confusing, like you were saying. It's hard to turn on the person that's abusing you out of many different things, I would imagine. For me, I just kept my mouth shut for the longest time. And it was for fear of this person having to face consequences. Even though I despise this person and
Yeah.
what he did, I still protected him. And I remember for abuser number one, my son's dad, I remember the day that he did something and we had police at our house. And I remember the day, sort of. I just remember the feeling and the feeling of having to protect him to the point where he was put in jail. He was released, and I packed him a bag and made sure he had his slippers so that he would be comfortable wherever he went.
Yeah.
And looking back, why the hell would I do that? It's crazy. And I remember when people would ask, "Oh, where is he?" And I'd say, "Oh, well, we're having, marital problems and he moved up to our place up in the mountains and I'm here with the kids and we're going to try to work this out." And it was all a bunch of bullshit. It wasn't even like that. And the one thing I remember too is for like the first year after he was removed from our house, he would call me like 30 times, 40 times a day and
Wow.
just say things that were it was the same stuff. I love you. I hate you. You're a bitch. You're this. You're that.
I want to be with you. Why can't we just make
Yeah.
this work?
Yeah.
So
And
confusing.
the one thing I am very proud of that I did not do is I've never been one of those people to return to the situation. I made a very conscious decision that he did something to my child and I would never go
You
backwards.
know, what's crazy is I actually went back to the church.
Did you
I
really?
sure did. Yep. I had been in hiding for months, months and months. Just they were in one city, and I had moved 3 or 4 towns away from where they were, and it's still not that far away, but
Far
several
enough.
cities. Yeah, well, you would hope. And so I'm driving around. I finally got in the car because I used to actually hide in cars and lay down on the seats when we drive around because there were so many people in the church that were driving around that I didn't want them to see me. So I finally got the courage to drive my car and I went a back road and sure enough passed my father.
Oh.
I thought I was gonna throw up. I thought I was so sick and I had been in hiding
Mhm. Did
for
he
a
see
few
you?
months. Oh yes, he saw me and
Oh.
he flipped a bitch and come following me. And I didn't want him to know where I lived.
Yeah, I
I
don't.
didn't want him to know where I was at. So I pulled in the back of this JC Penney, and my dad parked a couple. He parked a couple of parking spots away from me, and then he gets out of the car. And now, mind you, my dad was not a super lovey-dovey kind of individual with me.
Mhm.
It was seen and not heard. It wasn't like that. So when my dad got out of the car and he came, he's like, "My baby,
Oh,
I love you. Where have you been?
love
I've been looking
bombing.
for you." And he's like, "Why?" He goes, "Why don't you just come back? All I want is my daughter back." I had never heard my dad speak to me like that ever, never.
How confusing.
And I just felt obligated,
Mm.
and I felt like I didn't really have a choice but to
Mhm.
go back. So I went back to my son's dad's house and I said I was going to go back. And he didn't believe me because it was April Fool's Day.
Oh,
And he thought,
of
no,
all
I was
things.
lying. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I was like, I'm swearing that I'm not lying. And I went back. And the whole thing was I had to meet with everybody in my family. They all sat around me on the floor and chairs all around me as they all told me how horrible I was, how I ruined them, how I did this, I wasn't who they thought I was, just all night for hours, hours and hours. And then I was abused again that evening.
Oh my
And
goodness.
I had had an appointment the next morning. My dad had said that that evening at church. They wanted me to stand in front of church and let the people in church do the same thing to me. And that if I came back, I was no longer going to be a pastor's kid. I was going to just be a church member. And that if the other elder wanted to beat me, I'd have to allow that to happen. Whatever he wanted to do to me, I'd be okay with it.
Was your son born by at this point?
Yeah, shortly after I left.
Okay.
So he didn't have to be in that environment at all.
Thank goodness.
Yeah. No, I didn't want him to be in that environment, but
isn't it funny how they go from love bombing to manipulation to control?
Yeah, and it was just like because I lived in that, I almost felt like I just had absolutely no choice whatsoever. I had no way to defend myself. I had to go back. And then I laid there at night and I just couldn't sleep. And I just kept thinking about it and thinking about it. I didn't really want to be back. I didn't know what to do, honestly. And I just thought, I don't have to let them do this to me.
Mm-mm.
I can leave. And I can leave. And so I did. I waited until my stepmom got in the shower because at this point, now that I'm back, they're not letting me be alone.
Yeah, I was gonna say they were probably watching.
They were watching me. They were hanging on to me. And I just by chance had her get in the shower. I bolted. I was out of there and I never went back.
Wow. I just, you know, I just can't imagine.
But I'm certainly not the person today that I was back then.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say when you don't know why you react to things the way you do, but if we look at ourselves in like spectacle glass,
Mm-hmm.
we look at life through lenses.
Yes, we do.
If you're depressed, you're going to have a depressed lens. If you're angry, you're going to have an angry lens. And you have multiple feelings like that. You're having compounding lenses.
Mm-hmm.
So you're working through life through those lenses. So you're not really working on a normal, healthy level. You're
Mm-hmm.
making decisions through those lenses. And I think that's where it gets very confusing. And we have to try to work through those lenses, change the perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree. It's funny that you say that because one thing I've realized in just the last couple of years. So my mom did the best she could with what she was given, and at 13, I was pretty much on my own.
Mm.
And a lot of the abuse and a lot of the healing.
What did that feel like to be alone at that time? Do you think you realized that you were alone
Oh yeah,
at 13?
I knew that I had to take care of myself.
What did that look like?
Well, the one thing I will say about my mom is she was very hardworking, and she did supply, shelter, food, stuff like that.
Your basic needs.
But when it came down to emotional or being there for me, I don't remember my mom ever being there for me. And here's a perfect example. Uh, my first divorce was very hard. It was my high school sweetheart. We had we had this great life, but at some point we just grew apart, and we
Yeah.
didn't know how to grow back together because neither one of us had healthy parents.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes that happens.
And so I remember telling her, Mom, I really need you to be there for my divorce because I have nobody else.
Yeah.
And it's, oh yes, honey, oh yes, honey. And then the day before or maybe it was a couple days before my actual hearing, my divorce court hearing, she calls me and says, hey honey, I'm going to Vegas with your aunt. I'm not going to be able to be there.
It's crushing, isn't it? It's like a punch to the gut.
Yeah, it's also very much an eye opener that she was unable to be there in the way that I needed.
Yeah.
And so when I was 13, I just wanted out of my house. I just wanted to be an adult. And unfortunately, I wasn't. I was in middle school. And so I did a lot of things that adults did. I was never really a kid.
Yeah.
I didn't get to be a kid. And that's okay. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing or a good thing. It was just okay for me. And once I hit 16, I started working full time and going to school full time so that I could not be at home.
Mm-hmm.
And sadly, my relationship with my mom is still very unhealthy. But the one thing I can say is I understand, in a sense, as a mother and an adult, that she did the best she could with what she was given. And
And
my
at her own ability, that was the much she could give.
and it's, my grandparents were wonderful to me. They were a huge part of my life. They were the ones that loved me and
Your
nurtured
positive
me.
influence. Yeah, that's awesome.
But for my mom, once I realized that she would never be there for me and she was never going to support anything that I did, I learned how to do it all myself. So when I started the healing, well, actually, when I went into the abusive situations, I was seeing everything through a 13-year-old girl's eyes. And I say this, I didn't know that domestic violence was psychological. I always thought it was, being much like what you've been through, physical abuse. And
It's so much bigger than just the physical side of it.
it really is. And if we can educate people on that, how it's psychological and how it can take control and how all that stuff just works together for not a good reason.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I realized, I was doing something that oh, oh, sorry. We don't know how to really work this. Forgive us. If you want to join us, you are more than welcome. If you'd like to ask questions. Okay. I'm not sure how this works, but here we go. I'm sorry. We're gonna have to disconnect this. How do we do that? We'll be right back.
How are you?
Are you?
Oh my gosh, we are not. See, we can make money off this. We had 62 viewers. We're going back.
Yeah. There we go.
Okay, we're back. Sorry, I'm not sure what happened there. I need to learn this live stuff a little bit more.
We're still working on it. We don't know.
But we're not going to accept any co-host right now. We will definitely answer questions and do stuff like that. I hope everyone is joining us again because it looked like we had a great a great amount of people viewing.
Yeah. But you were talking about your mom, and you were saying how she wasn't able to give you exactly what you were hoping, but you did it on your own.
Yeah.
Now, because you had to do it on your own, were you able to receive help from others, or did you just force? Yeah.
I still struggle with that. I am very much, if I ask for help, it's because I have hit a very low place. And one thing that I was told during my therapy is I need to learn how to ask for help because I just don't. And it's not because I don't want it or I don't appreciate it. I just don't know how.
Well, one of the points that she suggests that you ask for help. And in what way? What way do you need to ask for help?
Well, this is kind of a silly thing, but I have a farm and I am
so it's for that purpose.
Yeah, just to help me get through things.
Well, that makes sense. Yeah, for sure.
The one thing I will say though is I never ask for help on my farm because that's my therapy. The one thing, so I don't know if I've mentioned this. I had a really good friend growing up. We were friends from high school, and I learned that the friendship was very much a relationship like my mom and I had. And so anyway, she would come over and they could tell by what my stalls looked like. I had 4 horses, and when my days were horrible, I'm not good at expressing and communicating. I'm more of a doer, not a talker. And she would come over and she'd pretty much go right to the stalls, and she'd be like, "Oh shit, you're having a bad day," because my stalls would be immaculate. That was just how I got through my
Yeah.
through my pain. And Hava, my wonderful counselor, she explained to me that I'm not a talker. Like, I can't talk about all this stuff, but what I can do is I can physically work it out of my
Sure.
body.
Yeah, I think a lot of folks do that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And if you've ever read the book The Body Keeps a Score, I think a lot of people would understand. And if you haven't read it, I highly suggest you read it. It's an amazing book because we may not seem to think we have a lot of the trauma that we're
Mhm.
holding on
Oh,
to,
we do.
but our body does.
It doesn't forget. It
Mhm.
holds on to it. And with the fibromyalgia that I have, that to me is a direct
Mhm.
cause of what I went through for
Oh,
all those years.
definitely. Well, and I'm surprised, honestly, that you don't have more physical issues being beaten so badly.
I have really bad physical issues.
Do you?
Yeah.
Well, you know, you don't show it.
Yeah.
You are amazing, and the one thing that I really respect and appreciate from you is we've had a talk about your relationship with God
Yeah.
and that you're not bitter.
No.
I think that is one of the most incredible things that you can share with others because it's very easy to become very bitter.
You know, he was there for me
Mm-hmm.
through every bit of it. I found out later after I had left the church that my family had told me that they had groups were getting together praying for God to take my life because I had a demon in me or some kind of evil, and that God just needed to save me and take me. And when that's being done, you don't know what your value is at all.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even know what you're here for. You don't even know why you're here. Like, what is this? What's the
Mm-hmm.
point, right? And he really, the things that came into my life, I had to really work hard to get through those things, and those things built my character.
Mm-hmm.
Those hardships made me stronger. Those challenges made me more focused. Those struggles provided me the opportunity to find answers to work through them. It wasn't a give up. It wasn't, well, I'm just no value, so I'm not going to try. I did not want to feel this way.
Mm-hmm.
And I did not want to hurt inside anymore. I was tired of feeling so confused, so hurt, so broken, so beaten. And I'm like, what is this life for?
Mm-hmm.
What is this about? And to be able to be on the other side of that now and feel love and feel compassion and care and sensitivity to other people, and I'm not just sitting here wallowing in my heartache,
Yeah. Yeah.
was such a blessing, because I used to just feel so overwhelmed by all of the horror I lived.
Yeah.
It was in everywhere. It was everywhere I went. I even had to leave a state because everywhere I went there was a memory.
Oh.
Every time I turned around it was something else. I was
Mhm.
like, I couldn't get away. And when I left the state that everything occurred in, it literally felt like a whole weight was lifted off
Yeah.
my body.
Yeah. And you have an opportunity to start fresh
And you are starting fresh. Yes,
without all
you're
those
now a whole
memories.
new person,
Mm-hmm.
and you start brand new. And I do think if you don't heal yourself, you brought up being a 13-year-old and how I really felt 10 years emotionally behind when I got out into society,
We've
because
talked
I
about
was
that. Yeah.
really behind. And I think people get emotionally stunted. I think sometimes there are traumas that happen in your life that you get fixed at a certain age bracket,
I
and
agree.
you respond to life from that perspective. If people aren't treating you right, you're being mean to me, you're hurting me. What does that sound like? Think
Mm-hmm.
about what age group
Yeah.
the behavior sounds like, because
Mm-hmm.
that is your tell sign
Yeah.
of where you might be at.
That is so very true. And that's kind of what I've probably over the last 10 years have really focused on. I don't want to be that 13-year-old girl that didn't have a healthy mom, a healthy
Right.
life, a healthy way of thinking. I want to be that 13-year-old girl that can look at me now and say, damn,
I did it.
yeah,
I did it.
you're one, yeah,
You're a tough cookie.
yeah.
You did it.
And two, I, although it's only taken me until maybe the last few years, I didn't want my children to see me broken and, that 13-year-old girl. I want my children to be proud of who I am now, and I want them to see the strength that they each have within themselves.
Yeah. I think that's a mom thing because
Mhm.
I, as well, didn't want my son to grow up having all these insecurities that I had. I didn't
Mhm.
want him growing up feeling less than. I wanted him to grow up feeling confident and knowing that he had a good support no
Yeah.
matter what.
Yeah, I do too. It's just in my situation, it's a little bit more difficult because I feel that my son sees me through his father's eyes.
I think that's hard because
It's very hard, and you get to a point where you have to and I'll be honest, I'm at a point where I think I need to step way back and let him just be him and let him see what the truth is. But a trauma bond is a very hard thing to understand, and it's a very hard thing as a mother to watch.
or even a parent seeing their child going through a hardship, it's excruciating. It's hard
Hmm.
because even in my situation, I never wanted my son to experience any hardships, but he had to experience his own level of hardships, and I
Yep.
just stayed by his side. I let him talk. I let him communicate anytime he felt like talking, and I was there. Even the things that shocked me,
Hmm.
I just held my shock in.
Yeah.
Tried not to like
No,
let it
I understand that, and that's the relationship I thought that my children and I had. My middle daughter I haven't talked to in 2.5 years, and the sad part of that is obviously I haven't talked to her. But as a child, I understand. As a mother, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah,
I understand because she feels I wasn't there. This is my perception. I'm not
because you don't
sure.
really know.
Yeah. But my perception is I feel that she felt I should have saved us. And again, I was looking through that 13-year-old girl's. I didn't even know we were in domestic violence till I had to go to a family justice center, and they're the ones that said, you realize what you're living in is domestic violence.
Mm.
I went there because I needed help with I think an electric bill.
Mm-hmm.
He had, uh, he would do things like get mad at me, so he'd call and turn off our electric.
Terrible.
Yeah, and the
Terrible.
sad thing is
Addictive.
everything was ran, our well, everything from that electric.
Wow.
Or he would say, well, you can just get some plastic containers and go up to the gas station for the farm animals. And so, that's when you start kind of figuring things out, like how to survive.
Yeah.
And people told me the whole entire time, you should get rid of your farm. You should get rid of those animals.
Feed
And
your
all I have
soul.
to say is, fuck them. Not only did I save my fur babies, I saved my children in the long run.
And the other thing too was that you, and healing yourself and doing the work on yourself, you are teaching your kids
Mm-hmm.
how to do it.
Yeah.
And you may not be telling them I'm doing this and I'm going to show you, but you demonstrating that, you showing them, even on a subconscious level, when they get old enough, they'll be able to look back and see life differently.
I hope so. They're all adults now, and they each have their own lives and their own issues. But my oldest daughter right now is going through a lot of stuff that's very similar to what I went through. Um, and I'm so proud of her because I'm there to listen, but she's just taken the bull by its horns and just said, "Let's do this." And so I always tell them that it's my blood. It's because of my blood coursing through their
No, it's so
veins.
funny that you say that because I just told my son that the other day. I was like, "You're better."
And the other thing I say is, they knock us down once, we come back twice as strong, twice as wise, and ready to, make a difference.
Yeah, I just want him to be able to see that I didn't give up. And he has no idea of what I went through and the things I've been through.
That's what I was going to
completely.
ask you. So for me, this is a long story. My mom has the early signs of dementia, and she came to live with me. Prior to her living with me, I never talked about my childhood,
Mm,
ever. And the only reason I had to start is because she was telling stories that were fictitious.
mm.
They were not the stories of my life or her life. And so I would have to kind of, my kids would be like, what? And so I would have to kind of explain what it was. But had I had a choice, my children would have never heard about my childhood.
Yeah.
I lived it. I didn't want to relive it. And unfortunately, I relived it with my mom, and it wasn't a healthy situation.
Yeah. I mean, I think sometimes, like you and I spoke too, even with my dad, I sat next to him and I asked him, why did this happen to me?
Mhm.
And he just said, I let it go too far. I mean, that was the answer. But, I think sometimes we go through hardship so that we can help our kids get through theirs.
Mhm.
Like
And
somebody
not
has to
just our
get through it.
kids, but people who, I was
Well, because our kids
alone.
are like the closest thing to us at
Yes.
this moment, and unfortunately, we went through a lot of hardships with our children,
Mhm.
and yeah, we try to hide that from our kids. We try to just show strength and show endurance, and but we're falling apart on the
Mhm.
inside, in the bathroom, on the floor, in the
I was in a
bathtub,
I
crying.
was in a horse stall. I always
Yeah,
did it because
you
that's
break
where I could be
down.
alone. Yeah.
Yeah, you just fall apart, and you literally just feel like, gosh, I'm never going to get out of this, and you just can't see clearly, and
Yes.
you just feel so confused. And I think sometimes it's hard when your mind is going crazy,
Mhm.
and it's hard when your emotions are going crazy. That's why over time I learned how to listen to my gut and not listen to my
Yep.
thoughts and my heart so closely, because those two things really kind of drew me
And
in
they
a
can
bad path. Not bad, but in a negative emotional path, because I was just overwhelmed. I couldn't think clearly. I didn't know what to do, what not to do. Everything was very confusing. So I had
Mhm.
to wait until I felt it in my gut. And that was not an instinct I was familiar with. It took me
Mhm.
a while to get the feel of that and to
Yeah.
understand this is my gut telling me what to do.
Well, and two, I don't know if you experience this, but your head will say one thing and your heart says another.
Yes.
And that's a very difficult thing, especially for someone like me who I don't well, I do now, but I never used to talk about anything. I just okay, okay. And in fact, I can remember my friend that would come over, she'd just be like, how are you doing this? Why are you not talking to us? Thank goodness I didn't share a lot with her because in the end she sided with number two.
Well, that might be
And
why you don't talk to her.
mhm. And I also realized, when they say that you pick your parents, she was so much like my mom. After I got away from the situation for about a year, I would start reliving things or remembering, not reliving, more remembering.
It was
And
like
I would,
bring up memories.
yeah,
But I kind of feel like when you have a bad relationship, right? I feel like you end up revisiting that again.
hmm,
If it wasn't ending well, like you still have to revisit that later on in life. You're going to continue to face things similar to that until you heal.
figure it out. Yeah.
You heal through what it is that you need to work through.
Hmm.
And when I talk about healing, I talk about it in a way that it's not like you can heal all at once. It's not going to heal all at once.
Hmm.
It takes a long time. It takes work. It takes love for yourself.
Hmm.
You really you have to want to be free
And you have to,
from this pain, emotional suffrage that you're going through. You have to want to heal from it, because the only way I was able to heal from it was when a memory would come into my mind, I would stop and think about it and like analyze it.
hmm,
And I would say, was it right? Was it wrong? Was there anything I should have done differently? Was there anything I could have done differently? Answer it, move on.
yeah,
And then the next
learn
time,
from it.
those memories, they stopped coming through. It was almost like I was retraining my brain to receive the information differently. And in some of the memories, I would have to do that more frequently.
Mhm.
And then they just went away. They
Mhm.
just went away. I do not have those memories anymore. I don't have the night terrors anymore. That's how I did it.
You know, it's funny for me. I remember I used to get incredibly bad migraines, and I was battling two people in court. Well, actually, I think I was just battling the one at the time. Anyway, I had this incredible migraine. I thought that my brain was going to explode. It hurt so bad,
Oh,
and the person I was with, number two, refused to take me to the hospital. So I laid in bed and I cried and I said, God, if you let me live till tomorrow or let me live, I promise I'm going to start journaling. And so clearly I lived. I started the next day journaling, and I always, so I would journal with my Bible because I'm very spiritual. And then I would do three things I was grateful for every single day. And the reason I'm saying this is because you're right. I go back and I look at those 8 years ago, I think it is now, and I don't even know. I don't even remember it.
yeah, right.
I don't have a clue who that person is writing it. And that's a very empowering thing.
It really is. It's such a healing
Mhm.
place when you can revisit that and realize that you're no longer
That
affected
person.
by it anymore and you're free.
Yep.
Like it's amazing. It's amazing to
Yeah.
be free.
It's funny because I have a stack of probably, I don't know, 15 to 30 of them. There's a bunch. And I was just thinking the other day, we can't have fires up here because, it's fire season. But I was
Careful.
thinking that it once the time comes, I'm going to just burn them because there's no reason anymore to have them.
That's freeing too.
I'm not that person, and I don't want to relive those things anymore. But it is quite interesting when you read something that you wrote that was so important and
Yeah.
so needed, and you're just like, huh, I don't remember that.
Right.
I'm not that
Right.
person
Yeah.
anymore.
Even I have been trying to write a book for a long time. In fact, I was contacted by Seattle Publishing back in 97, 98. And I wasn't able to even put my thoughts down and try to define what actually happened. And when you're so jumbled
Mhm.
still by all of
Mhm.
it. But I have partial written book
Mhm.
that I need to get back to. And it's nice because I'm not so emotionally connected to the words and the stories that I wrote down. Um, I can now talk about them without reliving the pain of reading the
Mhm.
material of what I wrote down, because it brings you right back into it.
Yeah.
It also brings back memories and new memories, and you're like, oh, and then it starts the night terrors and all that stuff,
Mhm.
and that's what it used to do to me. But when I was talking about leaving my family and getting out on my own, I do have to say the most incredible thing was I left my family, and 5 years after I left, my brother came back into my life. And 8 years after that, my mom came back into my life. 13 years after that, after I left, my sister came back into my life. And 16 years later was when my dad came back into my life. And none of those times did I ever pursue anybody. None of those times did I push myself on anyone. I let them come back into my life as the time allowed. And I think God brought them all back into my life. And I had been willing to let it go because it was the right thing to do. It
Mhm.
wasn't what I wanted to do, it wasn't what I enjoyed doing. And I think I told Lori when I left, I remember feeling like the part of your head and your heart that are so confusing. I remember feeling like I was reaching out, wanting to go back so bad because that's all I knew.
Mhm. Yeah.
That was even though it was terrifying, it was a comfort zone
Yeah.
because that's all I knew.
Yep.
But there was something inside me, and I can only say it was divine intervention because there's no other explanation for it, none. And um, it was incredible. The feeling felt like I had hands wrapped around my spine, holding me back. It was the craziest feeling.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I felt like I was reaching out like this, and this feeling is pulling me and holding me back. It was undeniable.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing when you hear stories like that because a lot of people, so I'm not one to go to church. I very much believe in God and I'm very, very spiritual. And when you hear stories or experiences like that, it just makes you even more, it makes your beliefs more strong.
Yeah.
I didn't sound right, stronger.
Yeah.
Because I remember there's times I never had something like that so much, but I remember there's times that like the day that I finally, it took me 4 years with my son's dad before I could file for divorce because I was scared to death.
Yeah.
Scared. And the day after, he cut off all financial. And I remember sitting on the couch or I think I was on the kitchen floor, and I was just like, how am I going to feed my kids?
Right. Was that the purpose of why he did that? Was that intentional to get you to a point where he could go to court? Well,
No,
he could go to court and try to get you labeled as an unfit mother.
oh, he did that all the time. But I think what he was trying to do at that point is control me to want it. He made it so that he thought I would come crawling back. But what he didn't realize is every time he screwed me like that, I figured it out. And I'm going to say that I probably didn't have the strongest faith then, but every single time something came up and it was for the positive. And I remember we had a business and we had a credit card machine and we had sold the business. This is just a silly story, but this is how I believe. And I remember I was cooking dinner and I said, God, this is it. I have like 42 cents in my checking account. And I didn't know about food stamps that I could get them because they always included incomes and all that.
Yeah.
So anyway, I remember sitting there and I'm like, I don't know what to do. I just don't know. And I was so afraid that my kids would suffer more and I didn't want them starving. I was fine taking care of myself in that aspect. So
but you don't want them to suffer.
The very next day I checked the mail and there was a check in there for like, I don't know, a good amount of money. Like probably $1,500. And I remember feeling so guilty that I called the new owners and I'm like, hey, are you guys using our credit card? They're like, no, we have never used that because I didn't want to take someone else's money.
Right. You didn't know where it came from.
And so I made sure it was ours or mine, and I used it, and that's what fed us for a good 2 months. And so just little things like that you don't realize, or I didn't realize that it was God's.
I'm telling you, God's worked through so many times. I had a car that, I mean, being a single mom, I have to raise my kid. One time I walked out of my apartment and my car is gone. I have no idea where it's at. Gone. Missing.
Oh my word.
Found out someone stole my car. So I had my car loan was through this credit company, right? I had gone in there and had pulled a loan of like $2,000 and added it to my car loan, right? Because it's credit union. And so they just applied it to that loan. And what a blessing that was, because I had gap insurance, right? My insurance came in, got me a new car, and completely wiped that loan completely out. I didn't owe that $2,000 back at all. That came out of nowhere. I was so thankful, and I had a new car.
Yeah.
And so things that even approach that seem just horrific, if you just wait a little bit, the blessing will come. And it'll be a better blessing than you even expected. Yep. You just have to give it a little bit of time and be patient. And the way I look at making decisions is if I don't know what to do, don't do anything.
Yep, me too.
If I feel like I'm teeter-tottering or do this, do that, do this, do that, just pause and wait.
Yeah. And the
answer will come.
It's very much true. I try to tell my kids that worrying and anxiety blocks your blessings because
It does.
if you shouldn't, if you truly have that spirit in you, you don't have those feelings because you know that God will provide or whatever your higher power is.
Well, it's like this. If you're going to constantly be worried about something, all you're doing is bringing worry, worry,
Mhm.
worry, worry,
And
worry.
negativity
It's a
more
cycle.
and more and more. Yeah.
It's a cycle of worry. So if you stop that, and I really had to learn how to do that too, because I was raised in guilt
Yeah.
and worry and fear and panic. So I slid right into that so easily, so quickly. It was just something I slide right into it. And then, oh, I feel guilty, or I feel bad, or I feel sad for somebody else. You just feel all these crazy things. But that's what happens.
Yeah. I agree. And I think that was one of my biggest lessons through all of this is just learning to believe.
Yeah.
And we can't fix everything all the time, but if you can let certain things go, 9 times out of 10, it's going to come back to you in a way that you never imagined
Could you
for the positive.
Yeah, could you tell me the pivotal moment that you realized that, because that whole situation just kind of came about. Was there a pivotal moment that you were like, I'm done with this and exit?
From the relationship or from the believing that
Well,
life
because
was.
you left the relationship. Did he leave the relationship or did you?
Well, actually, for my son's dad, he was removed from our home by the police.
Okay, so after that was the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as I said,
And you didn't go back.
no, I never went back.
I mean, that's so good.
Yeah, but it's a weird thing because I don't know that I ever would have went back, but knowing that he hurt my child just made me never want to experience that with her experience that more so than me.
I had that experience too. Somebody did something and to my child, and I was like, he wanted to come back and beg me to come back to him, and I said, I can't trust you.
So, peace out,
I
Betty.
cannot trust you. If you did it to me once, you will do it again.
That's
You will.
That's a good thing. So
No, I won't. Yes, you will. You absolutely will.
yeah,
And I didn't go back.
That's something that is very hard to learn. I believe
It is hard.
And with number two, the gentleman or the person I was with after the first one, I knew both of the men. I grew up next door to my son's dad, and I never ever saw anything that would have given me any inkling that he would have treated us the way he did.
And I'm telling you right now that happens. You cannot predict.
Yeah.
And I think what people are looking for is they want to be able to line people up and say, okay, you're a good person, you're a good person, you're bad, and like try to find something they can see in them on the outside or some feeling. Unfortunately, I think it's not that you missed it, it's when you see it. I don't think you have to worry about why did I miss it? Why didn't I see it? Why didn't I know that this was happening? Right. Don't focus your attention on that. Focus on I see it now. So now I'm going to take action. Make that decision at that point because you're going to beat yourself up forever if you do that.
Yeah, you will. That's what
it's
I
not
did.
that you missed it. It's that when you knew, then you change, then you move forward.
And one thing I've done over the last few years, especially, is I own every decision I made, everything that hurt our family, because I didn't know. And someone once said to me, well, actually, a few times, you don't know till you know.
Right.
And that was the hardest thing for me to accept because I pride myself on being aware and smarter than I was before. But sometimes, you still get suckered in. And with the second man that I was with, I knew him for a while. And I watched him, he lost his wife, and I took cancer, and I went through that with him. And, I really thought I just thought he was my knight in shining armor. We had this connection. I went back to him a couple of times. We would fight, not necessarily break up, I guess, but we would fight a lot. And he was always, well, when you're ready to talk about it, we'll sit down. And at that time, I thought, gosh, he's so much more mature than me. It wasn't until I caught him doing drugs behind my back that he finally freaked out and moved out. It was the best. I was coming home. I lived on a private street, and he had a couple cars, and his employees were driving his cars out. And I literally stopped my car and I said, "Thank you, God. This is the moment I've been waiting for." And I was supposed to be at work, and for some odd reason, my boss is like, "Why don't you go home early? You work a lot. Go home early and enjoy the rest of the afternoon." We are so slow that it was a tax office,
No, okay.
and they're like, "We're so slow that we can handle the phones.
Yeah.
You go enjoy your day." And so it all just, again, divine intervention in a sense. Well, when I got to the house, the look on his face was priceless. It was like the kid getting caught with his hand in the cookie jar. And then well, we need to talk. We need to talk. And I'm like, no, we really don't.
Yeah.
You've made your decision. Now go. The sad part is he would come and stalk my son and I, and that got to be very scary.
That is scary.
And when you call the police and you're like, he's here, I don't know what his intentions are, it doesn't look good, and they say to you, "Sorry, we can't help."
Yeah.
That is when I learned that protecting yourself is very important. Very important. And know what you're doing, and know that, if you need to, you can. And so I had to create a safety plan for my son, that if I said a certain word, he knew to go upstairs. Our house was beautiful, and I had a very big walk-in closet, and it was soundproof. I don't know why. That's just how they built it. Kind of weird. But anyway,
a closet that's soundproof? Awesome.
Yeah, it was weird. Anyway, he knew that if I said a word, the code word, that he needed to go in there, call 911, and then stay on the phone with his sisters until I came in or a police officer. And so that's very sad.
Yeah.
It's very sad to have to tell your child this could happen.
Right, it is.
And I remember we used to do Civil War reenacting, and he had one of those guns. It was a kind of a play gun, but it had the spear on top. I don't know what it's called. I'm sure other people probably do, but he, when that happened and the police wouldn't come, I went upstairs and he was sitting on my bed waiting to protect us.
Oh.
And as sweet as that is, it's also
It's
very
sad.
heartbreaking.
It's very sad.
And so,
because you want your kids to be kids, and you want them to be able to enjoy life, but you know, we can't make it perfect.
no,
Life is not perfect. Life
No.
life is meant and full of challenges and full of uphills and downhills, and if we can't live inside this frosting covered land.
Oh yeah. The one thing I do,
it's not real.
My son is incredible, though. He is a very hardworking, smart young man. And although he struggles with certain things, like we all do, I really see wonderful things coming for him.
For all your kiddos.
Well, yes, for all of them. My daughter, she knows she's badass.
I think it's just hard as moms and as parents in general to not beat yourself up for whatever your kids face. And I don't think there's a way to protect them from everything. Their lives that they're going to live, they have to have some hardships.
Yes, they do.
And sometimes the kids, they need to make those choices. They need to make their own decisions when it's appropriate, because those lessons are going to teach them, and they need those tools to move forward in their future. And if we try to protect them and bubble wrap them, they're missing an opportunity on gaining a life skill that they could take with them in their future. And we have to continue to try to heal ourselves and be better ourselves, so that they can see that that's important.
Yeah, the sad part for my children is this year on New Year's Day, I made a conscious effort. I was very good at sugarcoating everything.
Yeah.
oh, dad's just having a bad day. Dad doesn't know
Making
this.
excuses.
Yep. And I don't do that anymore. I say exactly what I need to say, and I feel that they're adults, and if they're gonna ask me things, then they need to be able to hear the truth, because the truth will set them free.
Yeah.
It's not that I want to hurt them. It's not that I want them to have any negativity towards the other parent. It's just something that will set them free.
And there's a time and a place to have conversations, you know. The first and I think the most important thing is, as a parent, get yourself under control.
Yeah.
If you feel like things are chaos and things are crazy, if you're hurting and you're struggling and
Mhm.
you feel alone, you need to find whoever you feel comfortable and who you trust to reach out to. Don't feel alone. Don't be alone. You don't have to be alone. And you can reach out to us.
Yeah.
We're here to support. We're here to hear you, to just understand what you're going through without judgment.
And eventually, we're working on getting it so that we will have a phone number for if anyone wants to reach out to us. We're hoping to do so much more than just the podcast and the lives on TikTok.
We're just getting started. So thanks for bearing with us as we
Yes.
learn how to do all of this. We're still learning.
And I want to say, I've had so many people on my Camp Boudica TikTok reach out to me. And I want to say thank you. Thank you for sharing the stories you've shared. Thank you for letting me know that, especially a lot of the women in the same county I lived in experience the same things. It makes, in a way, it just makes you feel so much closer to people, knowing that you weren't the only one. You're not the only one. But together we can make a difference.
Kind of like a customized support group.
It really is. And there's no better support than a survivor that knows what the hell happened.
Yeah.
And, I had a horrible judge for 12 years. Well, actually, for maybe 10 years. He retired. And then the judge that replaced him was amazing. A gal, I can't think of her name right now, but if I remember our next podcast, I'll do it. I do know that she went from the family court to becoming the presiding judge, and unfortunately, she doesn't do family court anymore.
Aw.
Because I think a lot of people it's Washington County in Oregon. I think a lot of people, especially moms that are protective or trying to protect, actually just anybody trying to protect their children, she would have been an amazing person to make a difference. Because I know I had her for 2 of my court cases, and the second gentleman that I was with, he would come over and he would hover over me, like if Michelle was me, he would hover. And finally, he would tell me, he would ask me questions because he was pro se. And he would ask me these questions, and I would answer them truthfully. And he'd say, "Oh no, Lori, that's not how it happened." And she finally said, "Mr. So and so, if you don't like her answers, quit asking the questions and go sit down." And I've never had that in a courtroom. I was usually the one that caused the problems. My son was kidnapped by his dad for 3 weeks, and it was my fault.
Oh yeah.
So and again, I'm grateful for all of that because it's made me
Now you are.
understand. Yes,
Now
I
you are.
wasn't. Yes,
Not during that time.
no, I didn't even know what to feel for most of that
Oh,
time.
you just feel helpless.
Because you're taught.
Attacked.
Well, I was always taught that when you go to court, you tell the truth, and the judge makes a decision based on both sides and both things. But in that courtroom, it was Washington County, Oregon, and if anybody on here is from there, you're gonna know exactly what judge it is, I'm sure. But I'm not ready to necessarily say his name on here because I'm not sure what the legal ramifications may be.
And I don't need that.
Yeah, I
Don't
will
need
find
that.
it out. I mean, I know that I can tell my story my way, and through my voice and my eyes and my experience. Um, one thing, my children are all adults, so he could never touch that. And he's been retired now for I think 3 years, and I don't even know if he's still alive, to be honest. He when I interviewed like 15 different attorneys, I had such a hard time getting an attorney to defend me because,
Were they worried about him?
yep, and they
Yeah.
would call him, he was known as either drunk judge or hungover judge. And because nobody ever knew who they would get, it was too much for them. They didn't want to get the pissed off one or the one that doesn't remember what he says the day before. So it made it very difficult. And that's when I learned to go pro se. So I actually love litigation. I love court. I love everything about it. And so, on a side note, I have developed this app for pro se survivors. I'm not, did I?
Yeah.
I showed you, yes.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to get that up and running. And if any of you are going to be pro se, it's for all 50 states. It's just a very simple app, but what it'll do is it'll give you some relief in trauma where you can put all the information down. You can put your notes, you can put whatever you want. And that way it releases some of the stress, because stress and trauma can go hand in hand. And it's very easy to forget.
It is, and I think it's important to document it because
Mhm.
sometimes the things happen so quickly, so fast, you have to keep track of it.
Mhm.
You
Yep.
have to. And your memory at that moment is the clearest right at that time.
Yep. I knew a gal who her trauma was so bad. She also experienced religious abuse in a very I'm not going to tell her story because she's not here, but very similar in a way to yours. She wasn't beaten down like you were, but her husband was an elder in the church, and some things happened. Anyway, it caused her a lot of trauma. And you know those desk calendars that are big?
Yeah, yeah.
She carried it with her everywhere because, and I can relate to this so much. You can sit and have a conversation with somebody, and when you're in that much trauma, as soon as you quit talking, you don't remember a word that was said.
Yeah.
And so she would make notes, and it was just looking back. I mean, she went on to do other things, but looking back, I just remember her with this big note, a calendar. And we do what we have to do to survive in the moment.
Yeah. So if you're going through anything that you need some help, some advice, some support, some ideas, definitely reach out.
Mhm.
Maybe there's something that we can offer as support, maybe an idea, suggestion. We're just here to support and encourage.
And we're not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice, but
No.
what we can do is share our experiences, and hoping that that helps others navigate through the court system. And yeah, it's
Just
one
a
of
place
those.
to talk about your story and a place
Mhm.
to feel safe to.
Yep, definitely. And eventually we might even start a more private support group, or I don't want to say support group. I want to say something more like a group of
Support
gals.
channel, maybe.
Yeah, a group
Yeah.
of gals sharing their experience, because one of the coolest things is learning from each other.
It really is. It makes a difference when
Mhm.
you have people who understand. There's just something about being validated.
Oh, definitely.
You know, when someone hears you and they see you and they understand you and you just feel like finally I have
Yeah.
someone who gets it.
Yeah.
Because you're just constantly you're fighting that abuse all the time and someone's beating you down, you're saying that's not the truth, that's not how it is, yes it is, yes it is, and you just feel attacked.
Mhm.
To have someone calm that down
Yep.
and let you be seen, it really is a healing thing just by itself.
Yes, definitely. And the other thing that I'm going to, and Michelle might be, she's a very busy gal, but one thing that I think both of us might want to do, I know I do, is I want to get certain policies on our books.
Yes.
For the government,
Yes. Legislative.
so that if someone goes to court and they have been psychologically abused, or they have been uh, um, legally abused, or financial,
Yeah.
then the person doing it needs to be punished for some way, in some way. One thing I will say is if anyone has the time, and I'll print one up and bring it or put it on a shared screen, the Duluth wheels of abuse are amazing because there's so many things that you might not even consider as a control or a uh, gaslighting or whatever it may be. It breaks it down into little, it's a pie, and it breaks it down into individual things, and it has examples.
It's perfect. It's like it's perfect pie chart.
Like, one thing I didn't know is my ex-husband, my son's dad, he had this habit of whenever we drove somewhere, he would fall asleep, and he would just, yeah, I know, crazy.
Yay.
But that is a form of abuse. Yeah, I would have to look it up on the pie chart exactly how to put it, but I didn't know that. I didn't know that was something that would be considered controlling or um, I would have to look it up. I don't want to keep going. I'm not one to talk unless I know what I'm talking about. So let me look it up, and we'll have it for
And
the
you
next.
look it up if you're interested.
Mhm.
Research it.
Yep, it's Duluth, and it should say, if you Google it, it'll say like Duluth wheels of charts of wheels or abuse wheels or something
And
like
even
that.
the United Nations has a whole domestic violence website that also has their
Mhm.
own pie chart on there describing the different types of abuse. It's a great
Yeah,
link as well.
yeah. I think some of the other countries are really coming along really well. We just need to get our country and our state, which our country is starting to. I think I mentioned the Arizona just had a House bill. It's HB. I think it's 2995. I'm kind of weird that way. I love reading that stuff. I love just soaking it in. To me, it's a step forward.
Yeah.
And I want to be part of the solution,
Knowledge
not the
is power.
problem. Yeah, very
Knowledge
much
is
so.
power.
Yep. And what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
It doesn't feel like it, but it's really true looking back. And I honestly did not feel I could have survived what I survived, and it did not feel fair for the very long time. But finally out of that cloud, and I'm happy, and I'm healthy,
Yes.
and I'm
And
on
you're
a
not
good path,
bitter.
and I'm not bitter, and
Nope.
I'm not mad, I'm not angry.
And that was my thing. I
feel
never
relieved.
wanted. Yeah, I never wanted to be bitter. So my one of the things I told myself every day was never bitter, always better. And I'm
I
not
love
gonna
that.
lie, when I lost my beautiful home and all of that, for I still don't really
No one wants to
understand
start
why.
over.
But you know what? God removed me from that to save my life because I don't know that I would be
Well,
here.
because he had something better for you.
And I think this is it. And the way that Michelle and I met and this all started
Organically, it
Yeah.
was just wonderful. It's just
Mhm.
been kind of great. We're learning about each other as
Mhm.
because we started this podcast after just recently meeting.
Yep.
So it's very, very new for us
And
as
I
well.
think it's awesome that way because it's all just new stuff for us.
Yeah.
And sharing it is, I don't know, it's just really amazing. And we want to bring you guys with us. And again, we're just going to ask that you be patient with us because we really don't have a clue what we're doing. But we have a little bit of a clue, and we know that our stories can touch others, and not only touch, but maybe save or give you resources to get out. But the biggest thing is we want you to know you're not alone, and that we hear you and that we see you. Something neither one of us really had, and I think had we, maybe we wouldn't have suffered through so much
Maybe as
agony.
long.
Yeah,
Maybe not as long.
definitely.
You know.
But yes,
Yeah. So I just want to thank everybody for coming to this episode of Real Conversations, and thank you for being patient with us as we learn how to maneuver through all these different applications
most
and all these little
definitely.
tools.
And if you guys like us doing this live on our, we don't have an, we're just getting our podcast TikTok started, so we don't have enough viewers to go live. I think you need 100. So we're gonna do it on Camp Boudica for a while, if not maybe always. I don't know. maybe we'll do both. But if you enjoyed this and want us to do more lives on here, let us know, because that is really important for us. We don't want to waste anyone's time.
No.
But we also want to make sure that we hit enough avenues that we reach a lot of people. And so we just want to say thank you.
People connecting to people. So
Mhm.
support each other.
Yep,
Yeah.
most definitely. That's how, I mean, how better way to get through the hard times.
Exactly.
Is
Exactly.
just knowing. But yeah, just let us know what you guys think, and we are always open to suggestions. We got a microphone, but we actually have our other device recording for our podcast. So if you want to check out our TikTok, it's Michelle and Lori Real Talk. I can link it on here.
And until next time, keep choosing you.
Yes, please do. And if you need us, you know where to find us.
Yes.
Do not hesitate. Have a great rest of your week.
Thank you.